Golden rule number 1, traffic lights. It's often a mystery to me that people fail on traffic lights, but there is a pretty good reason. Most people know that at the lights you stop on a red light, and if you're the first in the queue you stop at the stop line, which is the thick white line on the road. But what do you do at an amber light? And this is where people get caught out. What does an amber light mean? An amber light does not mean get ready to stop. It doesn't mean floor the gas and get through before the light will turn red. An amber light means stop unless it will be unsafe to do so. So if you can make a safe stop behind the white line on the amber light, then you should stop. If you've already gone too far forward and you'd stop beyond the line and into the junction, then you don't want to do that. Likewise, you also don't want to do an emergency stop into the lights. So I'm looking at the lights here and I'm expecting them to change, and sooner or later they're going to. One of the things that happens sometimes is people come up to the lights and think, please don't change, please don't change, please don't change. The lights are going to change. That's what traffic lights do. So as you're approaching, the mentality should be, those lights could change and I'm ready for them. Well, I should also point out that you need to be able to stop safely. So you don't want to be doing an emergency stop because the lights are changing. If you're so close that you'd have to do an emergency stop, that would be considered unsafe, and you're better off continuing through the lights. It's all to do with anticipation and planning, thinking about what can happen, and then preparing yourself mentally. You don't necessarily have to do anything physically, you don't have to brake as you come up to a green light. As long as you're prepared mentally for the fact that you may have to stop, then that's really all you need. So I'm approaching the lights and they're on green, and I'm thinking that light could change, and there it goes. I come gently to a stop at the stop line. By the way, do you know what these are? These black lines in the road. You see them as you approach the traffic lights. There's another one there. And then as we walk up to the lights, I don't know if you can see them from there, but right up at the traffic lights just before the stop line, there are the same black lines in the road. I'll have a look at them on this slip road here rather than stand in the middle of the road. There you are. Same black lines in the road. Now those are sensors in the road which sense the traffic. So the computers that control the traffic lights can sense how much traffic there is there and change the lights accordingly to keep the traffic flowing freely. But it's also why you need to get right up to the white line, because if you don't, you may not trigger the sensor, and in some instances you won't be able to go. Okay, golden rule number 2, stop signs. So what do you do at a stop sign? Well, there's a clue in the name. There aren't many stop signs around. They tend to appear at dangerous junctions, particularly junctions where you're blind. So what's the definition of a stop? A stop is all four wheels standing still on the road. Some instructors suggest that you put on your handbrake. That's entirely up to you. It's not something I necessarily teach, but you can do that. But what you do have to do is come to an absolute stop. It's not a case of creep through, it's a case of stop and then creep through. So here we're going to stop, then move on. Golden rule number 3, no entry signs. What do you do with a no entry sign? Well, you don't enter for a start. A lot of people mistake them for stop signs, which, given they don't say stop, they're certainly not. So a no entry sign, particularly in an instance like this where there's only one legitimate way to go, then you will be expected to use your own initiative, see the signs, see there is only one legitimate way to go, and then go that way. Golden rule number 4. Whenever possible, drive on your own side of the road, in your own lane. As you'll see on this road, it's marked up without a centre line, and you can find that will lead to people drifting. And sometimes they'll drift to the left because they might feel a bit close to the traffic, and then into the cycle lane, which we shouldn't be driving in. Alternatively, you might find that you drift to the right because there's no guide on your right hand side. Again, that's wrong. You take your position from the left hand curb, or in this case the cycle lane, and you stay inside your own lane. So, golden rule number 5, drive at an appropriate speed. Very often this comes into play on national speed limit roads, where the speed limit is 60, but national speed limit does not mean drive at 60 miles an hour. National speed limit means drive appropriate to the road conditions with a maximum speed of 60 miles an hour. Here we've got a fairly waterlogged road. But it's quite clear, the road conditions, it's pretty dingy and light, roads are wet. I'm driving between 30 and 40. The mistake people often make here is to sit at 30 miles an hour on a national speed limit road regardless of the road conditions, which isn't a good idea. Good. Won't be coming down here on the next lesson. So, see there's a sharp end coming up, I've been warned by the sign. I'm going to bring the speed down. And there's a junction at the end of the road. It's quite a blind junction. Speed right down into the junction, see both ways. Nothing wrong with stopping if that's the safest thing to do. Spot the change of speed sign, speed down so that I'm doing 30 by the time I reach the sign. Two warning signs for a school, but it's Saturday, so that's not a problem. An oncoming vehicle in the middle of the road, humpback bridge, sharp bends, traffic lights, the whole lot. So I'm just going to take it nice and easy. Do a gradual stop at the lights. find that while speeding obviously is an offence as well as a fault and driving test, people don't very often fail for speeding. And in fact there's no excuse for speeding, because you've only got a speedometer directly in front of you, which is telling you what the speed limit is. Sorry, it's telling you what your speed is, not what the speed limit is. So, still the 30 mile an hour zone, I haven't seen anything that says otherwise. Hold back the speed. There's the national speed limit sign. Check your mirrors and change the speed. Then take the speed up. Again, I'm not going to go crazy here. The road's wet, you've already seen it's been flooded in parts. That means I'm not going to go the way that I was going to go, because I know there's a part there which floods really badly. Looking out for standing water on the side of the road. You never know what that's concealing, particularly this time of year, out on the country roads. Lots of potholes and ruts and general nastiness by the side of the road, which you want to keep away from. So I'm up around about 40 now. Perfectly happy to bring that down if necessary. We've got a sharp end coming to the right, so I'm going to brake gently into it. Car in control, keep the car on my side of the road. So up to 28 now. When the road opens up, bring the speed up a little bit. So again, I've got it up to around about 40. There's a big vehicle coming through on the opposite side of the road, so I'm going to slow it down in case he drifts over into my lane. I've got it down to about 20 there. Again, I've got to come to a stop if it was necessary. Avoiding the standing water on the side of the road. It's always better to avoid the standing water if you can. However, it's also important that you look up ahead and make sure that the space exists for you to go into. Got a couple of sharp bends coming up here. Slow it down, brake into the bend. Go down to about 20 there. So be warned that there's a flood. It's too bad. Good progress down the road. I'm not just crawling, keeping the car moving at a reasonable speed. I don't think I'll make it any faster than this. Now I've seen the 30 mile an hour signs on the brake, bringing the speed down. I've reached 30 miles an hour by the time I reach the sign. Again, if I need to, I can go slower if I suspect there's any danger. So, golden rule number 6, keep left. So if you're presented with a choice of lanes, you take the left-hand lane, unless the road signs and markings tell you otherwise. You'd normally go to the right-hand lane only if you are turning right or overtaking. Now here, we have a situation where the road markings are going to force me into the right-hand lane of a dual carriageway, so we don't cross the red area. The right hand lane, but now when it's safe, go to the left hand lane. And if anybody wants to overtake me, they can do so safely. Nobody's been forced to come through on the other side. So when you're presented with a choice of lanes, don't just go the one in front of you, make a choice. So we're coming to the roundabout here. We're wanting to go to the A38 Gloucester, which the signs say we can use any one of the 3 lanes, but we're going to keep left. By keeping left, we're making life easier for ourselves. So I'm in the left-hand lane. I'm going to go round the roundabout in the left-hand lane, staying in my lane, and I come off automatically on the left-hand lane on the dual carriageway, which is where I want to be. If for some reason I'd taken a different lane and I found myself in the right-hand lane, then I want to come across to the left when it's safe to do so. Approaching a roundabout. There's 2 exits, one straight ahead and one to the right. We're going to go straight ahead, and again we're going to keep left. Roundabouts are round, they're not square, you don't go across them, you go around them. To the right and keep left on the roundabout. That way leaving room, plenty of room for everybody else. I'm going to go and overtake this truck. It's perfectly legitimate for me to use the right hand lane for overtaking. After overtaking, go back to the left hand lane when it's safe. To the next set of traffic lights, I know that I want to be in the right hand lane to go straight ahead of the lights and then right at the second set of lights. So I now have an excuse to be in the right hand lane. So I've now got a reason, so there's nothing wrong with pre-positioning, getting across when it's safe to do so. Straight ahead of the traffic lights in this lane. Slow down for the 30 sign. Come to the next set of traffic lights, this lane's going to split in 2, and again we're going to keep left. In a lot of instances, and this is one of them, once you pass the traffic lights, the lanes merge, and it's the job of the guys in the right hand lane to do the merging. By taking the left hand lane, it's made life a little bit easier for yourself, giving yourself one less job to do. I should stress, in this instance, it wouldn't be wrong to be in the right-hand lane. The right-hand lane exists to absorb the weight of traffic going up to the traffic light, so it doesn't tail back too far. But by being in the left-hand lane and staying to the left, we're going to make life a little bit easier for ourselves. Okay, so there go the lights. We're going to turn right, we're going to keep off to the left hand side, we're going to come into the junction on the left hand side, leaving room for the traffic on the right. And now it's their job to do the merging. And just get to carry on straight ahead. So golden rule number 7, don't go for gaps. Just don't go for gaps. If you're looking for a gap, you're looking at a gap and thinking to yourself, can I squeeze through there? The answer is no, don't do it. There's nothing to be gained. You know, in any sort of a hurry, be prepared to hold back, be prepared to give way. Now I'm in control because I know what's going on. I'm not waiting for somebody to give way to me. And so it's cost me a few seconds. So what? Driven safely, and nobody's been in any sort of doubt as to who's giving way. And finally, golden rule number 8. It's probably the most important, and it encapsulates all the others. Take your time. You're not in a hurry. There's nothing to race for. You're on a driving test. If you take your time and think about what you're doing, look at the signs, look at the road markings, look at the traffic lights. Have a plan. You know, the lights are on green. Think they could turn to red, and sooner or later they're going to. You turn into a junction or a blind corner. You know, think there could be a vehicle directly around the corner. Think, think, think. Be involved. Take part. Driving examiners get a bad reputation, which I can tell you really isn't deserved. There's only one time I've ever seen a driving test that was absolutely and totally unfair, and that examiner is currently in prison serving life with a minimum of 17 years for killing his wife. So I think it's fair to say he was a wrong 'un. I think the reason why driving examiners get such a bad reputation is because it's an awful lot easier to say my driving examiner was a dick than it is to say I screwed up. They don't want you to do anything fancy, special, exciting. They just want you to deliver them a nice, gentle, considered drive where you're not going to do anything dangerous or potentially dangerous. And if you give them that, they will give you a driving license.